There's an update tonight on the city's plans for a desalination plant near the Port of Corpus Christi. Of course, no one is building anything quite yet, but council members today heard from staffers and a consulting firm on what it will take to move forward with construction. Our Brian Burns was at City Hall for us today. Brian?
Joe, the city staff and city consultants have been working on several aspects of a desal plant, including permitting and preliminary discussion with several landowners for possible location sites. Council was told it could take about 2.5 years for the first round of permits to be filed with different state and federal agencies, and once that's done, developers will be sought and they face another round of permitting after they come up with a design plan. Meanwhile, the consulting firm is talking with property owners in both Nueces and San Patricio counties for possible construction sites for 1 or 2 plants that could produce between 10 and 30 million gallons of drinkable water every day.
We've actually started defining the requirements for the facility, which include the size of the facility, the expandability of the facility, a lot of the environmental considerations as we move forward.
He says their goal is to be ready at a moment's notice if and when the city decides to go ahead with building the plant, which could come during the course of another drought or an interruption of the current water supply. Now, after the permitting process and once the green light is given, staff believes building the desal plant could be completed in just over a year. Joe?
All right, Brian, just like that.